society, unfortunately, decides what a slut is, and then once that decision's been made, people get labeled really easily whether they're a slut or not.
From society's, like basic definition of slut, like someone that sleeps around, but it's thrown so much, like just as a joke, that it's almost lost its meaning.
If she's going around to every guy and like not caring about a single one, she's just doing it to like have sex with them or something.
I'd say there's women that are more promiscuous than others. I would never actually call a name associated with whatever decisions a female makes, or a male for that matter as well.
They go around, sleep around with a lot of guys and just be bad.
Well, I think that definition tends to rest with society, but the individual can be whatever they want.
I just see it like when girls are dating multiple guys or talking to multiple guys and seeing for a commitment or a relationship. At that point, you kind of seem like a slut to me.
If you have a boyfriend and you're talking to other guys, you are a slut.
When you go around and you sleep with men for like no reason and or to get money. Because you're literally just opening yourself out there and like, you're kind of just like letting people know like, yo, you can take advantage of me and that's it.
Jumps around and shit. If they're guy after guy, then yeah, hell yeah, she's promiscuous, she's a slut. But
being very indiscriminate with your sexual partners, not really giving any considerations to your reputation as far as sexuality.
That's the problem. We never call a guy a slut, and he can run around, have as many girls as you men are celebrating in the early year for having many sex encounter, right? While women are look the opposite. So that's one of the problems with that, right?
Yeah, I would call them a slut because there's sometimes when guys try to have several relationships or talk to other girls while being in a relationship or fuck girls while being in a relationship. It's just not called for.
Yes, because I am an official man whore.
I would, because guys can do the same thing as girls, and if you don't think that way, then that's double standards.
No, it doesn't apply to us. Totally different standard. Dudes can have sex with as many women as they want. It's never going to be a bad thing. Women have as many lovers as a man, they're considered a slut, so yeah, I mean, that doesn't make sense calling the dude a slut. It's not really real.
I would not call anyone that name whatsoever.
Yeah, because if he's doing the same thing, just going around to every girl just because he wants some, it's the same thing.
I would, because there's such thing as fuckboys, and I honestly think that, I hate that like such like girls and boys are divided, like honestly, because I think a fuckboy would be the definition of a slut for a woman, except only for like men.
She had a nice boot job.
I definitely think that she's more than just that picture. She's not just promiscuous and slutty, but she's if you actually do your research about her, she's a good person overall.
Butts off and like just butt surgery sluts.
Fashion choice that I probably wouldn't take, but more power to her if that's the choice she wants to take.
Maybe inappropriate, but I mean, that's her own life, so she can do whatever she wants. So that's what I think. I mean, I personally wouldn't do that.
I've been called a thought because apparently I talk to a lot of girls.
No, and I think it's because I'm very reserved compared to other girls, just the way I act, and possibly the way I dress.
Yeah, but I think Joe.
Yeah, but I think the only reason is because like people are stupid and like they don't know how to use the term correctly, and like I just feel like they just pass it out there because it's just a name. So,
and I don't think so. I wouldn't consider myself a slut or a whore, but I definitely have been called a slut or a whore.
I don't think I have. I guess I could have been and not known about it, but not to my knowledge. I feel like like when people are called a slut, it's usually behind their back. I feel like most times it's not directly to their face. Sometimes it is, I'm not saying all the time, but I think a lot of times it's gossiping behind people's back. Oh, that girl's a slut, she hooked up with so-and-so, and things like that. I think it's usually behind the other person's back, and it gets back to them.
Yes, and I feel like every woman probably has or will at some point in her life. And I specifically remember one instance, and it was extremely a wrong assumption for the person to make. And it was more of probably in a joking way, but it did still affect me, and it still hurt my feelings, and it still made an impact on me. So I'm sure everyone can remember a time, or will be able to remember a time when they have been called that.
I think guys are more opinionated than males and than females, and that females tend to have a weaker voice. Not that they do, they just tend to be a little bit more quiet and more emotionally attached to the subject. So males just do it to get an emotion out of whoever they're calling that name.
Either you are too emotional or you are a slut.
I think it's directed towards the girls more because nobody thinks it's wrong for guys to do it, but for a girl, it's like the end of the world.
Traditional views of women are like, sort of like the Virgin Mary, like they have to be pure, they have to be committed to one man. And since the man is usually out of the house doing his own thing, it's seen like okay for him to it's okay for him to be seen with other women because he's providing for this monogamy. It's usually like a man with multiple wives rather than a woman with multiple husbands, because that's just how society like views things. Like they would rather not see a woman get around, but with a man it's okay because he's, you know, masculine, he provides for everyone else, etc.
You know, when you're a dude, the world functions differently for a dude. Like if I have a flat tire, no one's ever gonna stop and help me. Whereas a woman, she has a flat tire, there's chances someone's gonna stop and help her. And I think if you know you have no options, just as a man, you make different decisions because you know it's a different world for you as opposed to a woman.
You should judge people, because you don't want, whatever you do in your personal life, you wouldn't want to be judged. So we all do things that other people might not approve, but we shouldn't be judged on that.
It's a very mean thing to do, but in other words, it can be funny sometimes, but it's not.
Shaming a woman for being sexually active and curious as much as a man.
I honestly didn't know what it meant until this video, but it just means you're being mean. You're just calling people out based on what they wear or how they act, when it's really not your business.